Alright, so let's get on with this. The only thing that I really want to do before I want to start out with all those multipass stuff, I really want to add some dirt here to our balcony as well, because this looks really kind of, yeah, it just looks too clean whatsoever. So we can just simply go into our wall concrete material and copy out here the noise, or at least first of all the mix texture, jump into our concrete, and let's just simply drop it in here, and I think this will already a little bit help. And here's texture 2. I think I can also use an RGB spectrum, to be honest. I don't need to load a noise here. And let me see what we get. First of all, I have to restart Octane. Let me jump into the other camera and let me go closer here to this thingy. And let's see if this works like that. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Now everything is red. No, it's not working like that. So let's just simply go back. Let's change this back to that we have the noise down here. And then we'll just drop in, or let me copy this channel. Let's drop in an RGB spectrum. Yeah, an RGB spectrum. Then we go mix texture, and then here in the texture, here we bring down the RGB spectrum down here. Here we drop our mix texture for the dirt, and here in the float texture we just simply load another noise, I think. Copy channel, paste channel, and now we should control this way better. So in this RGB spectrum here we should be able to control the color of this whole thing. Yep, we can. That's pretty good. And let's give it some kind of grayish color back here. That's maybe something like this. Let's see how it does look. Maybe a little bit darker. Maybe like this. Yeah, looking pretty good. And now we can play around a little bit with our dirt here on this thing. How visible we want to have this dirt, and also how this dirt should look. Let's maybe make it red so we can see this a little bit better in the scene. What is going on? Right now I don't see really much. Let's maybe make this noise here way smaller. Let's go UV transform and let's make this 5.5. And then also here in the amount, same thing, 5.5. And let's see what we get. Not much at the moment. Let's try it here. 5.5. Okay, I think I'm just on a complete different road right now. Let me just duplicate this wall concrete here and let me push this, let me drop this here onto the balcony as well. And now we just simply jump in there and just everywhere we have loaded this image texture, we'll just simply load an RGB spectrum instead, and this should give us exactly what we need. And we also get rid here of the bump mapping. So let's clear this here. And do we have it loaded anywhere else? No, we don't. And now we should get some dirt here. Yeah, but this is way too much dirt. No, this is the base color, so I think that's fine. Let me try to change this here to a greenish color so I can see my dirt a little bit better. Yeah, and the dirt now turns green. Let's maybe make this kind of black here for now. And let's change this color here back, our RGB spectrum, to something like, I don't know, some kind of grayish color, something like this. Okay, alright. And I still don't see enough dirt here, which really kind of makes me unhappy, extremely unhappy. Let me turn this red again. Nope. No dirt here. What is going on? Why is this happening to me right now? Is there anything else that I need to consider, or am I just going crazy here? Let's maybe set this here to cubic. Oh, now we're starting to getting something. Okay, let's make this cubic. Let's make the mapping just simply here. Let's bring this down to 50-50. It doesn't really matter where we make the mapping. Okay, now we can jump in and change the color here to really kind of a blackish value. Let's do it like this. This might be way too hard or a little bit too much. So we can go here a little bit more grayish. Something like this. Yeah, and I think that's pretty much perfect. So we get a little bit of dirt on the balcony as well. Let's maybe even go a little bit lighter here. Maybe something like 43 here in the V. Okay. Anyway, I think we still could tweak a little bit our light and so on, but I think basically we're looking pretty good. I mean, this is a pretty easy scene, so there is not much to do. But you will see that we have really a lot of power to make this shot even look a lot better inside of Photoshop. So what we can do is we can set up multipasses, and there is one simple way to do this. First of all, here we have all kind of info channels. So these are the channels that we can use as a multipass output. So with geometric normals, shading normals, position, Z depth if we have a DOF going on, material ID, texturing coordinates, tangent, wireframe, vertex normals, object layer IDs, ambient occlusion if you want to have this and maybe enhance our shadows a little bit later on, motion vector for motion blur, render layer IDs, render layer masks, light path IDs, and so on and so on. So there's really a lot that we can check out. Diffuse, refraction filter, transmission filters, and so on and so on. So to set up this multipasses inside of Octane, we have to go here. First of all, change this from Viewer Bridge to Octane Render. And here we have render passes, and here we can enable our render passes. This is the first thing that we should do. Image color profile should always be linear. I think that's basically straightforward. EXR is also a good format, normally used for 32-bit images, which is also good. And then we can here select what we really want. What do we want for a beauty pass? I think we want to have a diffuse. We want to have a reflection and a refraction. Refraction is basically what you're seeing here when you're looking through a glass. Then I also want to see an environment, because we have loaded here this map. I hope this is the right channel for this. We have loaded this HDRI, so I want to have this HDRI separated as well. And we have no SSS going on, no transmission. So that's basically it, I think, for this channel here. Then render layers. We could render out layers as well, so we can only, if you want to, only render out this balcony if we want to, as an alpha mask, and then just simply select it in Photoshop. Pretty easy. So we can only control this. So let's maybe do this. Let's drop on our balcony a Cinema 4D Octane object tag, and let's give it. Let me look this up. Object layer. Let's enable this. And let's give it maybe a layer ID of 2. And let's also enable this here, and let's set the layer ID to 2 here as well. Okay, seems like Octane is considering this already. So you can see only this thing down here is now in there. We can also drop this onto our handles and onto our wood. Then we should get this as well here. Let me re-render. Yep, so we can really mask out our balcony and really render this as an own layer, which is really cool, because we can only do color corrections and so on our balcony and not on a complete image if we want to. And let me see what it's doing here. It seems like as soon as I activate this here, it's going a little bit nuts and crazy on here. I'm not sure if this is a mistake of Octane or if this is really planned. Looks kind of weird to me, to be honest. What the cappuccino? Well, anyway. Okay, let's tick this off for now. We will just enable this when we do this later on. We can also tick on shadows. I'm not sure if shadows is really shadows inside of Octane. I think we need to tick on black shadows as well, as far as I remember. Lightning path, so we can also render out a lightning path if we want to. HDRI is basic ambient light, and then light passes can be ticked on if you have some area lights going on and want to render this out separately as well. So let's tick on ambient light for now. Render layer mask ID2. I don't think we need this here. Info passes. Do we wanna export any info passes that I showed you before? Like a wire and so on and so on. We could do this, but I don't really think we need to. So let's close this. And material passes, we can also render out our material passes if you want to. Let's see if we can set here an ID. Editor. Not really right now. Opacity. Not sure we really can set a material pass ID. Roughness filter, IOR filter. Okay, I think this is something else in Octane than in V-Ray. So let's forget about this. This is probably something that you will not really use often, those material passes. So this shouldn't be really... Which is really important for us, is this diffuse, reflection, refraction, the environment, a lightning channel, and then maybe a shadow channel. And then also, of course, here, if you want to mask out something that you drop here, those object tags from Octane, give it the right ID so we can render this out as well. And let me disable render layer for now as well. I'm not even sure if this will work. Well, we will see. We will just simply render this out and figure it out as well. Then here I want to set this all to 16 bits for now. I think here for the render passes it's always set to 32 bits, so I don't even think we can change this. Or we can 16 bit and 32 bit. Let's go 32 bit here with those passes. And I think we can, let me tick on render layer again and let's tick off show passes here. Does this help in any way? No. Okay. Forget about it. And multi-layer file is something that I want to tick off because a multi-layer file brings all those layers into one file of Photoshop, but I really want to have a little bit more control over them. So I will tick off multi-layer file so that Octane is really rendering out each layer by layer by layer by layer and a new layer and so on and so on. I think TIFF might be fine here as well as 32-bit. We don't really need to go EXR, even though we can go EXR, it doesn't really matter. And we can make here a folder. And let's make one quickly. Let's go here. I also did right inside here wrong, which I just recognized, which is pretty cool. Chapter 29, and let's call this Multipasses. And then we just simply can save this here, maybe just give it the name Multi. So that's pretty cool. Here we don't need to save anything, I think, in the Multipass channel. That's just not necessary. I don't even think we need to tick this out for Octane. And then we just simply render out here maybe a 16-bit full image because I want to have this one as well. So let's type in here single, save it, and yeah, I think this should basically be it. Everything else we don't need really a motion blur. I even said it's here to full, but we won't get any motion blur whatsoever. Everything else is set up, I think. Here we can make some network rendering if we want to. I don't have a network, so that's not really something that we can do for the final rendering. And let's maybe for the final rendering give this here maybe something around, I think 2000 samples is just fine, I guess. And for the final rendering we also wanna go here maybe with the settings on the devices here to priority high, so we really get full speed here on our graphic cards. And let me try maybe a little bit of an DOF, even though I think from this angle this will probably never ever work, but we can try to set up a little bit something. We might get a little bit of an DOF here, but not really. And the f-stop is really low, so I think this is not really even realistic anymore. So let's just simply leave this here at 0. Okay, so when we have all of this stuff, I will just simply set my cards now to high and pause the video, and then we will have a look at the final render and also have a look at the multipasses, of course. So let's just simply go click render to picture viewer and we should all be set to go. Okay, so I think I have to change this here a little bit before we go on. What we really need here, if you want to use the beauty passes, I think we don't need the normal diffuse. I did just check it out in Photoshop, it just didn't came together. Instead we need this diffuse direct and diffuse indirect. This is just how Octane works. V-Ray handles its passes a little bit different. So this is, I don't know, kind of weird, but okay. Reflection direct and reflection indirect, we also need reflection and refraction, which is pretty good for us. Anything else we need? I don't think so, to be honest. Multi-layer file we can definitely tick on, because otherwise this tutorial would just take too long and you would just see me dragging in layers, so in this case it's okay. And I think we can change this down into a 16-bit PSD file maybe, and save this somewhere else. Let me just make a new multi-folder, so that we really can find it. Multi-new, and let me call this here multi-new as well, so we can save this here. This render layer needs to be done separately, I think, because otherwise we won't get this single image. Those shadows, black shadows, color shadows, doesn't really work as expected. So what we can do is we can tick on here an ambient occlusion channel to have a little bit more control over the shadows, or make them a little bit harder, make them a little bit softer, make them a little bit more grayish whatsoever. But those passes are here not really working at the moment. This might only work if you're using a Mate object or something like this. I'm not 100% sure. But for what we want to do and the basic channels that I want to show off here, it's not really important. The ambient light is of course our HDRI, so we can render this out as well. And so yeah, I don't really think we need a lot more. Transmission would only be interesting, I think, if we're working with SSS and stuff like that. Then we would need to tick on SSS as well. Everything else should be really straightforward. Anything else that I want to change? No, I don't think so. This is set to float tone map, which is good. Let's see the camera. Neutral response. Let's maybe also change this here to linear and set the gamma here to 2.2, so we're really getting a linear output here. Let me just check the render again, how it does look now. Should look pretty neutral as expected. Yeah, and it does. And here maybe the wall dirt, I think I want to have the wall a little bit darker while I'm at it already. Oh, I only have the dirt in here right now. Okay, this is pretty bad. Let me just copy this noise here in the diffuse and let me duplicate this wall concrete that we already have. And let me get rid here of this image texture. Instead, let me pull in here this noise. So paste channel, and also instead of this noise, I want to use this noise that I still have here in my memory. Paste channel, and here I want to do the exact same thing. Paste channel and paste channel. And let me reload this. And I don't think I need a noise here, to be honest. I think I need an RGB spectrum here, so I can change a little bit the color of the balcony itself. Let's give it an RGB spectrum right here, and let's maybe change this here to completely red, so we can see if this has the impact that I expect here. And let me also get rid of the bump. It has some impact on the material, but it seems like Octane is not recognizing it. That's kind of funny. Okay. Oh, I think I didn't overwrite the material yet. That might be a problem, so let's drop it on here. Okay, and let's give this some kind of darker grayish color. Okay, that's way too dark. Maybe something like this. Okay, a little bit brighter still, so that we're getting more into this range of the rest of the building. Yeah, like this, I think we can work with that. Okay, perfect, and we still have some dirt going on here on this balcony, so I like that. Okay, and when we have this all set up, we can just simply go and render out our passes. So all we have to do is just to simply click render to picture viewer, and this should be it, and then we should get all our passes that we need, and then we can put them together in Photoshop, and I will show you how to do this and how much control we really have in the end over this complete image. So I'll catch you in a second. Okay, alright, so here we have the final output, and here you can see the layers, ambient light, the AO channel, environment, which is basically our HDRI, reflection indirect and direct. This reflection channel we probably don't need, but we have it anyway. Here we have the refraction, so you can see what's going on in those windows, diffuse indirect and diffuse direct. So let's open up here maybe those images. Let me close the first render that I have opened up here. And let's search for this. I think I did multi-new exactly. And let's just do a double click on it and it should load all our layers that we have here. There's also a background layer, we don't really need this one. The environment one we can disable for all, maybe disable all for now. And let's also open up our single render, which should be located here, I guess. Let me just check in Cinema 4D where I did save it. The single one got into single, okay. So right here, and let me open this up inside of Photoshop as well. Oh yeah, I can open it up here, perfect. And now we can really compare those two images and see what we get. We probably need a perfect match. So the diffuse direct I think goes at the bottom, so we can turn this on. This will also stay normal. Then our ambient occlusion we will turn off for now because I'm not sure what it's doing. It's the same as the ambient light. The next thing that we need is I think the refraction. Then the reflection we don't need, I think. Or the diffuse indirect should be here. And then the refraction. Then the reflection indirect and the reflection direct. And let's select those 4 layers and let's set this here to linear dodge add. And this should give us the exact same image as over there, as you can see. And now we can try to add this reflection here as well and set this here to linear dodge, but I think this is the wrong layer that we have rendered out. This will not help. As you can see, we're getting here a lot of reflections here, so we can delete this layer here. Then we can check out the ambient light as well. Let's just set this here to linear dodge as well, but this will not work, of course. So let's go a step back. This ambient light, I think, is basically this complete image rendered out, so this doesn't really help us at all. So we can delete this one as well. And let's check the AO layer. We probably can work with this a little bit as a mask, and so we can get a little bit of better shadows in. But in the moment really not needed as well. And we could tick on the environment, and let's maybe bring this really down here. And let's see if this works. No, we don't have an alpha channel here, so this means we can't really see this right now. The only thing that we could do, we could go here into the diffuse, select everything that is black, or let me deactivate everything else and let me see. Maybe it's better to use a different channel to do this. Maybe the refraction. No, oh, I need to tick off the environment as well. Maybe here. No, still selecting too much. Okay, here we don't see anything. Maybe here. Oh, come on, be nice. Be nice. And let me select my black parts here, thanks. Okay, and then we can just simply jump here to the environment, enable this. And then we could just simply cut this out, edit cut, and then make a new layer, edit, paste in place, paste special, paste in place. And then we could get rid here of this environment, and then if we turn back everything on, we should also be able to have here our sky. Even though this is not the best method, because as you can see we have now a little bit of cutting issues and a little bit of anti-aliasing issues. We could blur this out if you want to. We could also just simply have rendered this out with an alpha channel as well. Then we would have no problem to bring this in here. Okay, so there's not much we can do right now. I mean, we could also just simply bring in a little bit of a... this is really not good. I mean, what we could do, I don't like this. What we really could do is we can make here maybe soften edges. Let me turn off all these layers, maybe. Normally this should be possible to soften the edges here a little bit from this selection. Doesn't seem like it's doing that. Oh, okay, we need to go into the selection tool here. And then we go refine edge and maybe give this a little bit of smoothness here. Oh. And let's click OK. Maybe this helps a little bit. So edit cut, new layer, edit paste. No, edit, paste special, paste in place, sorry, my fault. And let's deactivate this and let's turn on the other layers and let's see if we are a little bit better now. Yeah, now it did do it in the other direction. Let's maybe make it a little bit bigger here, like this and like this. This looks now kind of blurred, which is, yeah, looks also kind of crazy. We should have just rendered out an alpha channel, so this doesn't, let's just delete this guy for now. It doesn't really matter for this tutorial, really not. The cool thing about this whole thing, oh, maybe, wait a second, I'm still not satisfied. I can't do this when I don't have this guy. Let's just copy it from here, edit cut, and let's go edit. I think this is a better cut now, edit, paste special, paste in place. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, and now it fits perfectly. Okay, now I can really work. Sorry, really sorry about that. So we have a lot of control. We have the reflection indirect, we have the refraction, we have diffuse indirect, we have diffuse direct, and we can now play with all those layers, of course, inside of Photoshop. So if I go here, image adjustments, maybe put the levels or curves only on this diffuse direct layer, I have a lot more control over this complete image in general, of course. And this is really the beauty of multi-layer rendering, because you can do so much with that. And yeah, I think sometimes for exteriors and interiors, it might really be important to render this out. Normally, I really don't do it. I'm not doing it often, let's say it like that. But for interior and exteriors, it might be really a great addition to maybe make the shot even look a little bit more beautiful. So there isn't really much to it. We can just simply jump here into the refraction. I mean, let's turn off all the other layers, and we could even make here the reflection a little bit better. Let's go into levels, and we could set this here a little bit higher, as you can see, something like that if you want to. Probably doesn't look as good anymore, but if you want, at least we have the control. Let's maybe add a curves over it and bring this a little bit back. Something like this, like this. Then we could also tweak in here a little bit of color. So let's go maybe reddish here. So we get somehow a little bit of a red reflection, as you can see. So something like this. So this is all possible. Just really depends, yeah, which layer you are using. In this case, the refraction layer only gives us really the windows, so really the refraction, so we can only change the color here. Refraction indirect would give us a completely different, what do I really want to say? I'm not even sure today, really sorry. Refraction indirect just simply gives us the reflection indirect, so we can change here a little bit around the reflection as well, make it maybe a little bit more pop out, or just simply have it reflect more if you play here with the levels, or have it reflect less, really depending on us. So we have a lot of possibilities to just simply change those things around. And if we are really happy with everything and we have made all those changes, we can just simply go select all those layers and bring them together to one layer and go flatten image, and then we have our complete image right here, and then we can put it out, or we can even go with a camera raw filter here, which I like to do a lot. Then here we can change a little bit the exposure still, just a little bit of the overall look. We could control here a little bit better, maybe the contrast, bring this up a little bit, maybe the shadows even a little bit darker or a little bit brighter, a little bit of the clarity. This also gives us a little bit something. And then here we could also control the color. We don't really have much color in this picture right now, but we could, I think, maybe blues. So as you can see, we can here also change the colors here really good. And we can give it a vignetting in post-work, which is always pretty nice. And so yeah, this is just simply really, I mean, there is not much to it. You just simply click on all the layers that you want to have, and then you just simply need to know how to compose them together so that really the image stays the same, of course, but then you can make really individual changes to those layers, which is really cool and really nice. And this is exactly what those multipasses are for, of course. So yeah, this was just a little introduction of multipasses. We will definitely tell you when we are rendering more of this exterior. This was just really a quick introduction, and I would really advise to watch the video tutorial as well to get a little bit more information. when we are working then with the grass and with the trees, and then we will render out multipasses as well, and even more multipasses, and then we will talk about this whole thing again. But this was just to get you started with those multipasses for now. So I hope you learned a little bit something, and I catch you in the next part.